Hello everyone, my name is Djamila and I am an illustrator. I also have a Patreon account where I share Photoshop files, brushes and all kinds of things with people who support my art. And if you want to become one of them, just click the link in the description. I haven't made a video in a while. It's really been months, I think. I have been pretty busy. But before I get into that, I wanted to give a shout out to my good friend Max, who wrote this beautiful piece of music for my YouTube channel that you can hear in the background right now. I asked him to do something with a piano that was kind of Ghibli inspired, and I think he did an amazing job. I'm so happy with it, and I'm going to link his SoundCloud account in the description so that you can check it out. Yeah, so I've been gone from the YouTubes for a while. I've been experimenting with different things. In February I did some food illustrations, and as a result of that I did a Kickstarter with food pins that is still running right now. So if you want to check it out, please do. There's the link in the description as well. And one thing I've been wanting to do for a while, for years, was to improve on my environment paintings or environment drawings, but I've never really had the courage to do it. It was always kind of intimidating. So last year I did a few studies that were kind of nice. I liked them a lot and figured, okay, why not get back into them? So I'm taking this chance right now to talk about my study process, how I do it and why I do it. My goal when I'm doing a study is not to copy a photo exactly like one-to-one. Yeah, because I'm not really interested in photorealism. That's not my style, that's not what I'm doing. Instead, I'm trying to make it my own and to convert it to my own style. Because my goal is to eventually integrate the study into my work. I would recommend you to pick a subject matter that is useful to you and that you're passionate about, which means if you're into nature and you have no interest whatsoever to paint cityscapes, just focus on nature first, make it fun for you, and try to think what kind of illustrations you want to do. If you're doing a comic and it's completely set in a forest, you can't just focus on forests for your studies. During the last year, I found myself interested in different environments. For example, I really like tree houses, so I started gathering pictures and doing little pencil studies of them. But on the other hand, I don't do studies of cars because I'm just not interested in them. I've never really cared about them, so they're not part of my art and not part of my studies. I often see people do like random studies. They sit there and they think, oh, okay, what can I draw today? Let's draw a random church. And it doesn't really have anything to do with what they're doing otherwise. So this sort of kind of random study behavior is not very effective, I think, because if you don't have a purpose in mind, it's harder to retain the information that you're getting. Even if you're focusing on the study, if you don't apply it afterwards to your own work, it kind of goes away very quickly, and I would try to avoid that. So for this particular image, I wanted to practice more elaborate backgrounds that have this kind of anime, especially Ghibli background painting kind of feel, because I've always loved that. I love the colors they're using, this kind of magical vibe, and I wanted to try to replicate that anyway, but still make it my own. And so I didn't want to make it too hard on myself, so I picked a reference photo that already had this kind of vibe that I was going for. So that all I had to do was play around with the colors and shapes and the way how I could simplify those things in my painting, but all the major elements were already there, so I didn't have to make them up. So my main goal here was to manipulate the colors and textures from the photograph to give it this kind of feel of a painting from an animated movie. Photos often don't have that, and they have a lot of detail, and it was my task to figure out how to get rid of a lot of this detail and to simplify it a little bit. And during the process, I figured out that hard edge brushes with a high opacity work very well for me. Whenever I tried to use a soft brush, it didn't really work that well for me personally. That doesn't mean that it wouldn't work for you. But for me, this study helped me figure out that hard edge brushes are the way to go for me. This was one of my main takeaways. I did a study to figure out what tools I could use to get the results that I wanted, and right now I know that 2 of my brushes work very well for this. But this is of course not the only thing that you can study. If you're doing a study, you can have so many goals in mind. You can have a ton of reasons to do it, but I would recommend you to stick to 1 or 2 to not overwhelm yourself with one study. For example, you could study anatomy, color, structure, perspective, brush economy, line art, or whatever. But if you stick to like 1 or 2 goals that you want to accomplish, it gets much easier for you. For example, if you're doing a portrait study and you want to learn about skin tones and brushwork, like how to blend skin, I wouldn't worry too much about the likeness because that's not your main focus here. But if you do a portrait study to focus on the likeness, maybe you don't have to focus so much on bringing it to a finish. When you have captured the likeness, that's maybe all you need, and then you can move on to the next thing. Set a goal in the beginning before you start and then stick to that. There are different types of studies that you can do. The most common are probably photo studies and so-called master studies. I like to do both from time to time, but again, only if I have something specific in mind that I want to improve on, that I want to learn. I've talked about photo studies before. It's just taking a photo and painting it or drawing it. And master studies, when you're doing those, you take an artwork of another artist that you like. Classically, they're about people that don't live anymore, like the great masters. But I like to broaden the definition to artists that are alive today and that you like. They can be very helpful because you're taking another person's work and you see how they took reality or life and simplified it into their style. You can learn from them and you don't have to figure everything out for yourself, which can be like a nice shortcut sometimes, especially if you're getting into a new subject matter that you've never drawn before. So if you look at how those other artists break down and stylize and simplify certain things, it can give you information that photos just can't give you. For example, I learned drawing faces from looking at Ian McCaig's work because I really loved how he was using pencil to draw the features. Like I looked at where he placed dark lines, where he placed light lines, what he emphasized, what he left blank. It really helped me to find my own style. Now, when you look at my work, you don't think this is Ian McCaig, but maybe there's a tiny little bit in there that was influenced by him. But again, it's all about making it your own in the end. You just want to pick up little tips and tricks that can help you make your own work better. You're doing these studies to inform your own work and you don't try to become this person. So the key, as always, is to take what you've learned and apply it to your own illustrations. Ideally as fast as you can so that you don't forget. What I often like to do is combine photo and master studies, and this is what I did here with this background painting. I opened the photo I talked about earlier, and I also opened a background painting from a Ghibli movie. Okay, so when I do these, I open my photo reference and an illustration or a painting by someone who has tackled a similar subject matter to see and to compare how they've simplified it. And while I'm doing the study, I take information from both images. So here I took the basic composition and elements and the structure, everything from the photo, but the colors and mark making, I kind of looked at the painting to see how I could apply that to my own study. And this way I think it stops me from mindlessly copying the photo. I'm not looking, oh, is this color correct in there? I have more freedom to bend the image to what I want it to be with the help of this painting that I like. When I'm doing those studies, I know it's already over in the video, but you saw it. I started out with lines. I first freehand everything without a perspective grid. I just draw it as I see it. And then when I'm done with that, when I have all the elements down, all the placement and proportions, rough proportions, I add a perspective grid. And then I do a more detailed sketch on top that is correct and follows the perspective lines. But I don't worry too much about making it clean. Like, clean line art is not what I'm after here because I'm painting it anyway. Yeah, once I'm done with that, I put the base colors underneath. And once I have those, I color in the line because they also give a different dimension to the work. If I leave them black, it kind of fades everything out. So I like to make them orange or something so that it adds a little bit of warmth. Even if I'm painting them out, they still become part of the image. When I'm putting down the base colors, I don't sample them from any images that I have. I just use the color wheel to find them. They're not accurate. They're neither the same colors that I wear in the painting I use for reference, nor in the photo that I use. There's something different, and I like that. I like that when I pick my own colors, they usually get more saturated, and there's more variation in it. So I don't want to take that away from me, and it's also good exercise. And the last thing I wanted to say was that when you do a study, you don't need to feel the need to finish it. Once you've got out of it what you wanted, like as I said earlier, if you want to study the structure of someone's face, it might be enough to just do a pencil drawing to get it there. You don't need to do a whole oil painting. Again, it's all about your goal when you're starting the study. What do you want to get out of it? And the level of finish kind of informs how far you're going with it. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was interesting to you to see something a little different from me. I'm definitely going to keep improving my environments, keep painting them, integrating them into my illustrations. Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. So, thank you guys for watching. Bye!